People often call this book evil, as power has manipulative connotations. But power isn't the problem, it's how you use it. In the right hands, the 48 Laws of Power is a toolkit for building strength, cohesion, and influence for your family. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 laws around building respect for your family and creating a self-sustaining power base. Used right, these laws help you lead better, protect what matters, and even make a bigger impact on your community and the world. Now, I'm not here to waste your time, so let's get straight into it. Law 40 is despise the free lunch, and this is one of my favorites. What is often given to you too easy comes with the hidden price tag of reciprocation. Now, when it comes to purchasing things, there's more to it than the fiscal element alone. Powerful people judge things not only by what they cost in the fiscal sense, they also judge them based on time, their personal dignity, and their peace of mind as well. You don't want to hoard your wealth and your resources. That's one of the things that this law is warning against. But when you're giving freely, it can be used in your favor, not in a manipulative sense, but a way to start a chain of net inflow into your family and your community. When you keep your money circulating, it's a magnet for power. So a good example of this is paying more for a contractor. Now, you can go with the discount contractor and he's probably going to cut corners and wind up building a subpar product. But if you hire a more prestigious contractor who's more experienced and you don't mind paying a little bit more for that, he's going to go the extra mile to make sure that you're happy. And then in turn, when it comes down to him recommending your business for particular things, so say that you had a fruit shop, for example, and he helped do the fit out for the fruit shop, then he will probably, in all likelihood, recommend that your fruit shop is the fruit shop that his family goes to, not only because he has pride in the work that he has done, but also because you have paid him and there's that feeling of reciprocity involved. So it's not manipulative, it is a means of making sure that you're building strength within your community and keeping that wealth circulating. Now, the most powerful families in the world never bargain hunt or ask for discounts from their friends. They pay full price. That's not to say they don't haggle, but they pay full price for what something's worth because they want to support that business. In the book The Millionaire Next Door, there's an example given, and while it might be a little bit dated now, what was found that millionaires would typically do when purchasing a car is they would send a fax out to all of the car dealerships saying what they wanted and what they were willing to pay, and then it was up to the dealerships to take the matter into their hands to give the best possible price. So they value their time, but they were willing to pay full price for what something was worth. One example of this law that has always stood out to me, and this isn't one that's offered by Robert Greene, but I think it's a good one just the same, is the prioritization of community in certain religions or cultural sectors. Without naming names, certain groups will hire internally from their own group of people, or they will buy from culturally owned stores. But yet somehow in the West this has become almost taboo. But what everybody should be doing is supporting their local community and the stores that they want to see grow by purchasing from them. Even if it costs a little bit more now, the goodwill that you build, the reputation that you grow, and the reciprocation that comes from it will serve you better than getting that small discount from, say, Amazon or something like that. You can start that virtuous cycle by using your family money within your community, be it digital or local. When you buy from the people that you want to support, say an online creator, not naming any names here, but you can actually help support their work and encourage them to keep creating more things that will help you. And that doesn't necessarily just have to be in a fiscal sense. It can be just taking the time to watch something that they put out. Again, thank you very much. But it can also be that you purchase a book from them, or that you do their course, or that you follow them on a particular social media platform. And that begins that reciprocity that will help you further down the line as well. Before I close this section out, I also just want to touch briefly on the 4 kinds of people to avoid that Robert Greene mentions. Now, I'll probably do these more in depth in a future video, but I'm just going to run through these real quick. The first up is the greedy fish, and these are the people who only care about cash and remove the human element. They will gladly trade you in for somebody better if it means that they can get a little bit more money out of that other person. They'll wind up isolated and are often used as targets for con artists. Next up is the bargain demon, and while powerful people judge things by what they cost them more than dollars, bargain demons lack that ability. They'll waste their time just trying to squeeze every dollar out of everything, including you, regardless of what it costs them. And when they finally do purchase something, it's typically low quality, and they'll wind up having to pay either to repair or replace it in the future. And that means if your family has a business, or even you personally, focus on quality and providing a quality service or a quality good, these people are going to try and squeeze every dollar out of you, and when you aren't able to provide it, basically at a loss to yourself they're going to see that as a dent in their relationship with you. Then there's the sadist, and these are people that see money purely as a tool to manipulate you. And it's almost like when they transact with you, it gives them the means to torture you in a sense. They feel like they have some kind of power over you because they've transacted with you, whether they're on the buyer or seller side, and they don't really care about the human element of conducting business with you. So avoid these people if you want to maintain your sanity. And then finally, there's the indiscriminate giver. And giver is a very important part of building power. You can look at what the Medici did. They would patron a lot of artists. They would give a lot to churches, and that helped build their power. They were seen as very generous people, at least within certain generations of the Medici anyway. But the indiscriminate giver doesn't do it because they want to build power, or they don't do it because they want to help out the world and their community and their religion. No, they do it because they feel like they can purchase love and respect, and they prioritize it to such a point where they're almost needy, if not actually needy. And you'll find that these people will be an emotional drain on you and your family, especially because they oftentimes demand or expect an unsustainable level of reciprocation from you. I've known all four of these types of people in my life, and sometimes they can mean well. Not all of them, but sometimes they can mean well. I've even been one or two of them myself. And what I can say from experience with dealing with these people is that they are going to sap your energy, they are going to be emotional drains, and they are going to try and detract from the power and wealth that you're able to amass for your family. Have you ever known anybody like these four archetypes, or do you have them in your life now? Drop a comment down below and let me know. So the next law that will help you build a power base for your family is be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. Now, the way in which you carry yourself will result in how you're treated. If you walk into a room with a slumped head, you'll be treated differently as if you walk with your head held high. This not only extends to you, but also extends to your family and then out to the wider world as well. Now, recently I took my family to an island for a day. It was another kid's birthday party, so we went along. And what I found really interesting is that all the other kids on the boat were kind of crazy and loud. They were running all over the place. It's only a small boat, so they're running all over the place and kind of annoying the captain, I suppose you'd call him. But my kids sitting there perfectly fine and calm. And that's because when I'm in public, I conduct myself well. I'm reserved. I'm not out there being boisterous and tearing up the place. And so my kids reflected that as well, except maybe my youngest, who was in tears because being surrounded by water wasn't his idea of a good time. But in general, because I conduct myself well, that bleeds into my family, and then my family conducts themselves well, and then that reflects on me, not only as a parent and as a man, but it reflects on my family as well, and the kind of people that we are within our culture. There's a saying I'm really not a big fan of, and that's don't judge a book by its cover. But if book covers didn't matter, then nobody would bother making them, and they'd all look exactly the same. People put a lot of time into their book covers because they do matter. You're trying to attract people to purchase the book. And the same goes for your family and yourself. If you want to conduct business well, you don't dress like a slob, you don't dress like a bum on the streets, you dress properly. Now you can go ahead and look at the most respected rulers in history. They had respect for themselves and inspired that sentiment in others, and that's why their names go down in the history book. When you look and act like the leader of a strong family, your family is going to follow in suit. So if you want you to leave a strong legacy, if you want your children to follow behind you, you need to be the kind of man that's worth following. And that starts with the way that you carry yourself and talk about yourself as well, for that matter. And then when your family is able to act like that cohesively, that not only builds respect in you, it builds respect for your family. And then by acting like a respectable family, you become one. A really good example that Robert Greene gives in 48 Laws of Power as a warning is from 1830, when Charles X stepped down as King of Paris due to a revolution, many of which I believe they had at the time, and the Duke of Orleans, his name was Louis Philippe, he was nominated instead to be the replacement king. Now, what's interesting about Louis Philippe is that he tried his best to be almost like the everyman. And he wanted to be a different kind of king, not because he was an everyman, because he was a duke, but he really just disliked ceremony and the trappings of royalty. He'd walk the streets instead of being carried around in a carriage. Instead of a crown, he wore a grey hat and carried his own umbrella. Rather than having a circle of friends comprised of elite nobility, he had bankers and middle-class folks, the very people that called him to lead. Now, James Rothschild was a banker among bankers, the wealthiest and most respected banker in France at the time. And Louis Philippe treated him as an equal, which he really shouldn't have done, because James eventually turned around and berated him in public, something that just a few decades earlier would never have even crossed the mind of anyone remotely sane. The bankers soon believed that they had more power than the king did, which eventually became true because in 1848 there was another revolution where Louis Philippe was forced to flee France and head for England, having absolutely no power left, and this all started because he never carried himself with any regality whatsoever. If you want your family to be respected, you must carry yourself like somebody who is worthy of respecting. And that's not to say that you need to be pompous like a king, but you do need to have some level of self-respect and carry yourself like somebody who is worth being respected, and then that will bleed through down to your children, and that will go out into the world and make your family much more respected than somebody who dresses like a slob and carries himself with no dignity whatsoever. The last law for this video is Law 41, and that's avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. I offer this more as something to be aware of as you build the foundation for your legacy. Now, we all want our children to be ambitious, at least as much as we are, if not more. But if they feel as though they can never compete with your accomplishments, it can and will lead to disdain. Robert Greene states that descendants feel they must accomplish double what their parents do in order to be equally respected, and not to get lost in the shadow of their parents. But I make the counter argument here that this is more a product of environment and parenting than it is a hard rule. Your family is made up of a collection of individuals, and they're all going to have their own pursuits. Just because you have done something or a particular family member has done something doesn't mean that other family members should be competitive. It should be a cooperative effort. Everybody should benefit from the accomplishments of one of the family members. If the members of your family are a net contributor to a collective cause, like what the family is trying to achieve, rather than competitors to the individuals within a family, you're going to build a much more cohesive culture over time. Comparison is a theft of joy. When we are always comparing ourselves to other people, we'll never be happy. There's always someone who has more than us, who's better at something than us. There's always another goal to set. But when you are able to compare yourself to yourself, that is the stuff you were yesterday, you are always improving in a certain instance, and that really should be what is within your family culture. Because if you are trying to compete with each other internally, so it's brother against brother or father against son, you're going to create this fractured culture that's going to break apart your family. You as the leader of your family are actually laying a foundation to be built upon, not something that has to be replicated and built again. Robert Greene offers a good example in the book around Alexander the Great. Now, that's a name that most of us know, but his father, Philip of Macedon, is one that is kind of lesser known, if at all, by most people. Now, Philip of Macedon was murdered, unfortunately, when I think Alexander was around 17 or 18, and then Alexander took over. But rather than following directly in his father's footsteps and using cunning to grow the empire that was already there, Alexander used his own way of going about things to build his empire and ultimately cemented his name in the history books as a result. How this translates into a modern context is that you should use the funds and the foundation that you build, regardless of its scale, as a power base to allow your family to accomplish things of their own. You want to open up opportunities for them rather than try to force them into a mold. Don't make your family culture centric to you or 100% reliant on you. You want to be creating a foundation for your kids to build on, not an idealistic standard for your kids to live up to or a mold to force them into. If you try to force your children into becoming just like you, you'll find that just the opposite happens. Your children should be standing on your shoulders rather than following in your footsteps. So those were 3 laws centered around building an independent power base for your family. You can use these to create wealth, influence, and opportunities for your legacy. Speaking of which, I'm going to put a video here that you can watch next to build more wealth and power for your family. You can help me out by leaving a like and subscribing for more like this. There's a lot more in the book that I didn't get the opportunity to cover, especially around particular themes that are relevant for a family, so if you'd like me to do another video in the future, drop a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.